Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Phil Mcconnell in the house. So please, everybody, if you have a question for him, please write it on the board underneath his logo or raise your hand, and I will unmute your mic at some point in this podcast. Also, too, everybody, please be careful who you listen to and who you follow. I can't stress this enough, everybody. It's wackadoodle out there, and it's just getting crazier by the day. So and just everything that we're seeing out there, from this Comey situation, I think Field might touch on that again today. Just be careful, everybody. Things are coming out. We are in the disclosure stage. You gotta catch them and you gotta let them do the crime so they can pay the time, right? So just hang in there, buddy. A lot of craziness going on out there. Just stick and stay with the 3 to 5 people that haven't led you wrong through the course of your journey here, because more than likely they're going to get you through the end of this. However, we are seeing some people go fall by the wayside. So if that's one of the people that you've been following for a while, I do apologize, but unfortunately we knew that this was going to happen toward the end, because I do believe we are nearing the end of this horror show. But what a great time to be alive, everybody. If you stay out of that noise and that minutia, then you're seeing the greatest I don't know, biblical story unfold in front of your eyes, excuse me. So just stay out of the noise, everybody. A lot of noise out there, a lot of black pilling, a lot of doom and gloom. And if you're out there listening to a lot of these, chats or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Also, too, everybody, if you come in late to the podcast, you can follow the podcast on the podcast hosts, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. We are being listened to in over 100 countries, everybody, so we are making some noise, good noise, positive noise, that is. Also, the social medias, I do upload the podcast on all of those. They are Jenny Jareed Facebook, at Jenny_Jareed X, at J Jareed Rumble, at J Jareed True Social, at J Jareed Instagram, the Revival of America right here on Telegram, the Revival of America on YouTube. That's my latest social media. And then last but certainly not least, at the official J Jareed over there on TikTok. I'm trying to do better on that one, but again, as you guys know, I forget about it. But all of the social medias are verified except for YouTube, TikTok, and True Social, because I'm waiting for those verifications. Also, everybody, if you get a random text, somebody saying that it is me, asking you if you're ready for the scare event, crypto finances, all that stuff. No, it's not me. I will never randomly reach out to you and ask you those things. If you please block and report them and let me know so I can make sure they're not here in my channel. I'm doing this because I want to make sure that you guys don't fall for the scams. Bunch of them going on out there. So please, everybody, be careful. It's scary because unfortunately a lot of people fall for these scams and they wound up getting taken for their livelihood, and then they're devastated. So it's really sad, some of the things that are going on out there. And again, if you're not strong in the mind, stay out of these chats that are the doom and glooms, black pilling and all that stuff. Just get out of there. If you're in it, you don't like it, doesn't resonate, exit. Or if you know this is what they do, just don't enter that room or that chat, whatever it may be. Also, too, if you have a story, everybody, or a journey you'd like to share and get your voices on the show, please reach out to me at the Revival of America at yahoo.com. We'll get your voices, your stories heard. Because remember, everybody, it's your story, your voice is going to make a difference here and help in this new world that we are coming into here as we speak. So, and then last but certainly not least, the newsletter, everybody, to get weekly updates on the show lineups. Sign up for the subscribe for the newsletter. It's free. You'll get the latest notifications on the new podcast as well as the show lineup every week. So with that, everybody, we will kick back. Let me see if Field is in here. I don't know why he comes in muted. There he is. He's here. Hello, Field. All right, everybody. Field is in the house, so I would like to welcome Field. He typically gives us 90 minutes of his time. So please, everybody, if you raise your hand and you want to ask Field a question, please try to do your best to ask the question and not just raise your hand and sit there, because it does take up a little bit of our time. And I do have to do a hard stop right at the 90 minutes today because I have other stuff that I need to get taken care of for my day gig. So with that, everybody, I'd like to welcome Field. Oh, also, too, everybody, Alpha Warrior. We're supposed to have him later on this afternoon at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. We're moving that to next week. So it'll probably be on Wednesday. So watch for that, everybody. So with that, Field, how are you?
I'm just fine, Jenny. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, and I'm so glad that you're here. And I know you've got a few things that you wanted to touch on. I think there was 3 things, but for some reason I forgot the third one. But one of them was the Pope. The second one was, I think, a conversation that Juan and Roseanne was having about you. Roseanne was talking about you, and I'm going to put that on the wall for you guys as well. And there was a third one that you spoke about, but also too, I know a lot of people want to get your your opinion on this whole Comey thing that's happening. That's good, just going crazy about the 86. I seen 8645 and 8647. Basically, people are saying another assassination threat to Trump. So, with that field, I'm going to give you. What do you want to start off with? You want to start off with the Comey
Well,
thing? Give your opinion on that.
yeah, well, yes, but maybe if there's someone in your chat room that's articulate on the Comey thing, that would help me refresh my brain. But I don't even know if Comey's alive or dead. But I'll be willing. I can. I think I can pretty well put Comey in the ground if he's not dead yet.
Oh,
So if
I
you
I
want to
agree.
start,
I agree with you that there, Field. I agree. We have not seen Comey in a long time. I do believe he is no longer with us.
well,
We got to show the people, right? We've got to show the people so the normies can wake up to all this corruption and stuff. So yeah, we can circle back. We can circle back to that Comey thing as we go through the podcast. I'm sure you'll have questions regarding it. So go ahead. What do you want to start with? The Pope? Do you want to start with the Roseanne and the Juan interview, or what would you like to start with?
well, let me just ask you a question. When you say the Roseanne and Juan interview, are you talking about playing it, or do you want me to talk about it?
No, you mentioned to me that you wanted to talk about it on the show. So I will post it
Oh,
on the
okay.
wall for people to go listen to it. Yeah, in their free time.
Yeah, okay. Well, you post it and I'll talk about it. And if I can start talking now, just say go ahead.
The floor is yours, my friend. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Um, I got a text from somebody over in England, I believe. I get a lot of messages every day, and every day I wake up thinking it's going to be an easy day, and every day by 10 o'clock, I've proven myself wrong. Uh, so I get real tired, but that's okay. I'd rather be tired than see another child sodomized or see another American taken advantage of by the corrupt justice system, which has been replaced just recently with a constitutional court system. And I had thought, and I'd actually said before on one of your many, not one, numerous of your podcasts, that I thought we reverted to constitutional law on the 1st of October of 24. And it appears that's not true. It appears it's much more recent. But at least we're in constitutional law now, which begs the question, what is Donald Trump going to do? And the Supreme Court judges and the Department of Justice, what are they going to do with attorneys and judges that have not resworn an oath to the Constitution of the Republic of the United States of America? I think they should all be terminated and have their retirements canceled because they were just like the IRS is basically gone because they were never legitimate. Um, they were abusing American workers, and most American workers paid their taxes thinking it was going to the national budget, which it was not. It was going to the fake royals in England, which are soon to be extinct. I don't mean dead, I mean defrocked. And in fact, if I was going to threaten them, I'd say unfrock you or defrock you. And Trump and other legitimate authorities want to put an end to royals. The only royal, in my mind, and probably in many of the legitimate servants, the only royal that's ever walked the earth is Jesus Christ. So any of these phony baloney bastards, that's not a curse. That's a correct word. It's in the dictionary. Look it up. Bastard. Somebody of disputed parentage. Well, all the fake royals are disputed uh, parentage people. The favorite right now among the transgressors is Prince Andrew, who um, apparently, according to the jury down or the justice system in Florida, apparently Prince Andrew violated Valerie Guffrey, Guiffre, when she was underage. And he's a real piece of dung, Dung. And his wife, I think his ex-wife was Sarah Ferguson, and she was in New York City the night of September 10th, which was the night before the attack of 9/11. Why was she there? And why was she there with a black musician named Tricky? Trickey. Nope, there's no E in Tricky. Tricky. Um, and, you'd think if you're married and you're royals that you'd be seen together. But apparently they don't like each other that much. He had more of a preference for a 17-year-old girl named Valerie Guffrey. So the Royals, I think they're going to go out of business. I think that James Comey was beheaded with a guillotine years ago, and he was 6'10", and he thought that meant something. No, it just means you need a longer coffin. That's all. Being 6'10" is not an accomplishment. That should be considered a gift from God. But then Comey apparently didn't know God. He sure didn't act like it. And he's not the first FBI director to be questionable. Let's see now. I got to think of Mueller's Robert Swan Mueller. I think he was the third. That guy, I would say, is a traitor, treasonous. And the reason I say that is my own sister knew him well. And based on the fact that my own sister, Christine Marcy, knew him well, I sent him a letter, and it was in February of 2007, and it might have been February 7th of 2007. I can't even check my own stuff because when I was unlawfully arrested and given no due process, everything I had on the internet was scrubbed, which means it was too hot to handle for the bad guys. Well, that's why I am doing what I'm doing. I'm exposing evil, and the bad guys would like me to be gone. Well, the bad guys, they're not smart. They are evil, but they're not even effective at getting rid of a 75-year-old geriatric that's easy to find on the top of a hill in the Wisconsin woods. And anybody that wants to find me, and somebody around November 4th of 2019, somebody, one of the four people that had a murder threat on me, one of them must have been getting close to Plum City, because the day I was arrested by 7 police officers who arrived in 5 police cars, to my office in Plum City. And I saw him outside my office. So I said, can I do something for you, gentlemen? And they said, yes, turn around and put your hands behind your back. And I almost laughed, but I didn't. See, I'm sort of a wise ass, but it's better to be a wise man than a wise ass. There's wise asses on every high school campus in America and college also. But so I thought at the time, this is a little bit overkill, 7 police officers for a 70-year-old person. I was 70 on that day. But later I found out it's very likely I was taken into protective custody as the Pierce County Sheriff's Office had an idea that somebody with a contract to kill me was getting close. And I had one guy meet me at my office probably that same summer of 2019. And I asked him if he needed something. He said, yeah, I came to talk to you. And I said, well, you can't talk to me now. But I had already noticed his license plates were from Iowa. So I said, why didn't you call and tell me you wanted to talk to me and we could have worked out a time? And he was obviously, in my mind, he was trying to intimidate me, looking big and scary. Big guys aren't that's not a big deal. Like Comey, he's a big guy. He was 6'10", but after he got decapitated, he's probably about 6 foot even, what's left of him. And anyway, enough about James Comey. He's an absolute traitor, and if he doesn't like that, he can kiss my rear uh, anytime he wants. All I would ask is if he does it in public on the main street of Plum City, so that people can see what a weasel he is. But of course, for him to do that, his head would have to be reattached. So I guess that's out of the cards. So I think I've pretty well covered my opinion of Comey. Jenny, do you have any questions about my opinion of Comey, or should we move on to the murder for hire Clinton Foundation?
Yeah, real quickly regarding Comey, I know his daughter is sitting on this P. Diddy case, so I think that's kind of interesting that he's coming full circle right now, and she is actually, sitting over there on this P. Diddy case. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Did you know that, Field?
No, I did not. I appreciate your telling me that.
Yeah, so
So
that may be something in your free time. I know you don't have a lot of free time, but to look into. It's I just thought it was kind of interesting. So yeah, go ahead. That was the other one, the third one, murder for hire, that you wanted to speak on, and then I know you want to talk about the Pope too. So yeah, go ahead. Clinton murder for hire, everybody. This will be interesting for you guys.
there's other titles that you can find on the internet, the Clinton Chronicles and the Clinton Foundation. And what the Clinton Foundation said they weren't. And I don't even know what they said they were, but they were. That was an organization that arranged murder for hire for airliners, the first of which was TWA 800, which was shot down. And in true history, regardless of what you might read on the internet or hear from somebody that's a wannabe or a Johnny come lately, uh, a U.S. Navy ship, probably either a guided missile destroyer or some other guided missile equipped ship, surface ship, not a submarine, was in a training area where there was supposed to be no commercial traffic, and it fired a missile up at a drone. And unfortunately for the innocent passengers of TWA 800, TWA 800 entered the restricted airspace. And because it was much larger than a drone, the radar guided missile transferred lock from the drone to TWA 800. And where did I get that information? Well, several places. One of the senior Navy enlisted people on the guided missile ship uh, shared that information with several people, one of which got a hold of me. And that launched me into investigating it. And I found out it very likely was true. And how that could happen is our good old friends, the FAA, which accommodated the attack of 9/11. And if anybody from the FAA wants to argue that with me, fine. Now that we're in a constitutional court setting, you just set up the hearing and I'll come. I'll even dress up and shave. But I won't change my rhetoric, because on the morning of 9/11, the deep state of the United States of America, and I'm speaking specifically about the senior executive service, which my own sister started, George H.W. Bush asked my sister to start it. I think he asked her in either 76 or 77. She got it up and running in 78 or 79, but I think it was 78. And that's nothing but Treason Incorporated. What they did, in a nutshell, was they put a non experienced person on top of every American bureaucracy. And that was done. So one person, whoever was controlling SES, Senior Executive Service, could control all the bureaucracies and take them sideways. And the whole idea, and we want to keep a couple of names in mind right now. We want to keep Obama, whose name is not Obama, it's Barry Soetoro, and that's spelled Soetoro. And he went to Punahou School, where I went to Punahou School. He graduated in, let me think about this. I graduated in 67, and he was graduated in 79. And at Punahou School in Honolulu, Hawaii, he would skip class and go out and smoke dope with his buddies. And then after school, he worked as a male prostitute. And what a pervert. He preferred to service older white guys. Well, I'm an older white guy, Barry Soetoro, and I've got a cask in the back of my hearse, and my hearse has your real name on both sides, Barry Soetoro, Punahou 79. And if you don't like it, why don't you send one of your flunkies, but not your husband, up to Molly's restaurant, and they'll give you directions to my house, and then I will greet you with my favorite 357. So it might not be smart to come up here unless you come up with a cavalry, which is okay, but it's private property, and I don't think 30 horses with riders would be permitted in. That depends on who's by the gate that day. So I'll leave that alone. So the Clinton Foundation actually they would take care of murders for hire, and they were done with a variety of airplanes. At my last count, I wrote a book, or I wrote a lot of papers, if you will, papers of evidence concerning the takedown of innocent passengers, that is the murder, premeditated murder. And I called that group of flights Baker's Dozen. Baker's Dozen means 13, because there were 13 flights that bore the signature of the Clinton Foundation murder for hire scheme. Then there were another 2 flights afterwards. One was over in the Pacific with a 737 that had a known, that 737s of that era were known to occasionally pitch down at an inopportune time and drive themselves right into the ground or into the sea. And that happened again. I think the aircraft was from Kenya, and it was going from somewhere north and west of Kenya, and it flew into the ground and killed everybody. And Boeing has been blamed for this. And I right now want to announce that if Boeing is ever sued for anything involving their aircraft hitting the ground, I would like to be called as an expert witness. And I am an expert witness because I've been watching the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot since well before 9/11. And on the morning of 9/11, I reported on the internet that what we saw with the 4 flights, supposedly, actually, the 4 flights were destroyed. 3 of them in Whiskey 386 Alpha airspace, 60 miles. The entry point is 60 miles off Norfolk, Virginia. The 4th flight was too late to hit its target, and that flight was United 93, having departed Newark, New Jersey's Liberty International Airport 41 minutes late. Now, somebody somewhere imputed a 41-minute delay, and that was done to identify the perpetrator as George H.W. Bush. He was the POTUS 41. He and my sister and Hillary Clinton and John McCain were some of the biggest names on the attack of 9/11. And how do I know that? Well, I gave them, not on purpose. My sister called me in December of 1988 and said she had a problem. I said, well, you have a problem. You also have a big budget. So why are you calling me? Well, I want to find out how to get uh, shackled and handcuffed prisoners from Hawaii to the mainland because there's no federal courts in Hawaii. I said, once again, I don't know why you're asking me. I was just having a delightful evening with my best friend, Jack Daniels, but I'll tell Jack to remain quiet, and I'll tell you how to get your passengers from Hawaii to the mainland so they can be tried in federal courts. And I said the way to do that is to get some used airplanes from Northwest or any other airline because they continually park their older, more obsolete aircraft, which are still airworthy. And I said, all you have to do is back then it was a $300,000 part. I think it's more like 800,000. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. 300 and $800,000. And that's where I would make a very good witness for Boeing, because even though it's called the Boeing Uninterruptible Autopilot, it was built by General Electric. General Electric had a CEO at that time named Jeffrey Immelt, who had $275 million of life insurance paid for by GE. Now, sometime between 9/11 and today, GE changed their name. And it wasn't a big change. I think it went to something like GE Aviation Services. But it doesn't matter. GE built the Boeing Uninterruptible Autopilot, and they shipped them under a contract to Boeing out in Everett, Washington, or wherever they construct aircraft. Um, and I've been talking about that for 10 years or more, too. Um, these people think they're getting away with stuff. They also think that everybody in America is too dumb to figure this out. Well, they're a little off there because maybe a couple people and me have figured it out, and I'm not going to. You can't really silence me, even though you think you can. But you can think I'm a giraffe too, but that doesn't mean I have a long neck and orange paint and brown spots. So some people think a lot, but they don't know the truth. I think that was a long-winded answer. I don't even remember the question. Oh, yes, the Clinton murder. Yeah, that's called stream of consciousness. Give me three
I
words
love
and I'll
it.
give you 3 hours. Um, the Clintons, now Hillary may be gone. And Bill, I don't know if he's gone or not, but he might as well be because he's got Peyronie's disease. And that's not a good deal for a male. There's a lot of diseases that are not good deals. And many of them, you know, trouble women, or as I like to call women, ladies. And I consider every woman a lady until that woman demonstrates a behavior or a mouth that proves she's not a lady. So, have I hammered the Clintons well enough, or should I go on for another 4 hours?
Well, we don't have that kind of time here. That could be probably broken up into a series of podcasts if you want to do that. Do you want to take questions on that particular topic and then move on to the Pope? Or do you want to just go straight into the
Yeah,
Pope?
that no, it's fine. We can do what you suggested. So I'm ready
Okay.
when you are.
All right. So anybody, if you have any questions regarding the Clinton for hire, what Field just spoke on, please raise your hand. I will unmute your mic and you can ask Field your question. Otherwise, we will move on to the Pope because I know he would like to touch on that. And there are some questions that, well, people just want to hear about the new Pope and what your thoughts are. So I don't see any hands or questions regarding the murder for hire. So go ahead, Field. Go ahead on into the Pope.
Okay. I'm doing something right now that I've never done before, Jenny, on any of your podcasts. I read that article that someone sent me, and I know who it was. I'm not being secretive or protective. It's a lady, and I don't like ladies' names to get out there. So her name will stop at my brain. Um, but the Pope, which is the first Pope from the United States, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not, his name is Pope Leo the 14th. And he is the first Pope from North America. And he's also the first American Pope. And he was crowned, I think they call that coronation, in 1982. And he was from Chicago. He was consecrated in 2014. He became a cardinal in 2023. And I can't even read my own notes. No wonder I don't use notes. Oh, I think he was a dual national. I think he also was a national of Peru. And I give that's a question mark, but there's people out there that have read what's on your wall. And any of those people that want to correct me on the Peru comment. Now, some people might wonder why suddenly, if even though there's never been a North American Pope, why we have a North American Pope now. I'm going to put this idea out there. It doesn't mean I'm right, but I think he's there. Well, his older brother said, and I don't know his older brother's name, but it's in the article that's on your wall. The older brother said that he thinks his little brother was installed as a pope as a very clear signal to the Vatican Jesuits that child sodomizing is not cool, and so it's going to stop right now. And this Pope Leo the 14th, he's not necessarily a fan of Donald Trump, but that's okay. There's something in our Constitution about the separation of church and state. Well, I think we should separate any entity that is trafficking children and sodomizing 3 and 4-year-olds and younger. And this is really disgusting. But there have been babies that are newborn and they still are hooked up to their mother's, whatever I don't know what the part of the mother is it's hooked up to, but it's called the umbilical cord. And even before they cut the umbilical cord, people have sodomized them. To me, that's way beyond disgusting. And I think that Donald Trump is very happy to have this Pope from America. And the Pope's brother thinks that his brother, the Pope, is not tolerant of sexual abuse of children or even adults by the Vatican Jesuit priest. And these Jesuit priests that like to sodomize everything that walks, talks, or flies, they wear red shoes. And I'll bet you if we ask your chat room to raise their hands how many people know what the red shoes mean, I think they know. And that's incredibly foolish of the Vatican Jesuits. I didn't criticize the Vatican. I didn't criticize the Catholic faith. I certainly didn't criticize career Catholics. I was just talking to a career Catholic last night, and this person who's a local here in Plum City, who's also quite intelligent and somewhat fearless, I told, now I'm going to expose it was a female, but I'm not going to expose myself. She and her husband were sitting at Molly's restaurant with me, and she said that she was a career Catholic, but that didn't mean she condoned what the Catholic Jesuits do. And that was good enough for me. You know, it's not my job to run people into the ground. Well, unless they're child traffickers or sodomizers or treason practitioners. And when you look at those crimes, uh, they're basically fatal crimes now because abusing a child is now a federal crime, and the death penalty is the answer for it. Um, Even though most Americans will not agree with me uh, when I say that we're at a state of war, because everybody knows we're not at war. But what they don't know is on 9/11, the president on that day declared that we are at war against whoever attacked America on 9/11. Well, I told George Bush and I told Obama and I told Biden and I've told the world that the people that attacked America on 9/11 were mainly Americans with a side dish of um, fake royals and the cabal, the global cabal, and what they wanted to do. And this is something worth dying for me. They wanted to destroy the United States of America. I got a 2-word answer for that. I'll just leave the first word out of it. The second word is you, blank you. Um, and you know, I'm no military hero. I don't even like that term. I don't think, you know, if someone dies in the military, that doesn't mean they're a hero. It means they're a terrible loss to their parents and family. Um, but this, the idea that it's okay to kill young men and women in the interest of reducing the breeding pool of people that have good genes and, you know, strength and moral character by pitching them into a war for nothing. Uh, and we could go on to what was accomplished in all the wars that any of us are old enough to remember. And I think the answer is nothing. Nothing was accomplished. Just a lot of young people, men and women alike, that could have become the heads of wonderfully um, patriotic and perhaps Christian families. They were taken out of the breeding pool. And to me, that's not a very nice thing to do. So I think that maybe I'll just stop right there. And did you want me to get on to the Pope or did you want me to go a different direction? Oh, I already
Well,
did the Pope, didn't I?
yeah, you talked a little bit about the Pope, but I do have a couple hands that were raised. So let's get these questions and maybe that can, they might have some questions regarding some of the things you just spoke about. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that'd be great. No, that's my favorite part of your show, questions and answers. And that's, let me tell you why. It's because that's proof to the chat room that we don't come up with these questions ahead of the show so then we can act smart. I mean, that's what politicians do. They have teleprompters, they have a, you know, a earpiece, uh, and they, you know, they're just not very smart. And I include my sister in that and her girlfriend, Hillary Clinton. Neither one of them were smart. And I think that neither one of them are alive anymore. But Q&A, here we go. I'm ready.
All right, so let's go. Blue Beans, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, Blue Beans. Push the blue mic. You requested a mic, so please go ahead. All right, everybody, this is what I'm talking about. If you guys request a mic, please ask your question because it just kind of takes some time out of Field's time trying to get you guys to speak at the mic. So Cal, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hi. I just want to follow up with what you said about this Pope being installed. If Donald Trump and the allies, or he is king of the world, they're showing us, and he's doing all this cleanup in the world, and we're in this operation still, was he the one that installed this Pope? And is this man really going to stay there as Pope? Or is it just part of this awakening to what we're going on and teach the people exactly what's happened at the Vatican? Because I'm not really sure that I understand if he really was voted in by the conclave or he was installed from President Trump. Thank you.
Well, my guess, and that means I don't know, but my guess it was a combination of both those things, that he was selected by the conclave, but wasn't it on the second vote, not the first vote?
Yes.
Okay, well, you never know. Maybe somebody representing Trump said, why don't you have another vote and try to get it correct this time? Because I think, and the Pope's own brother thinks, and you can find it. I read it you can find it on Jenny's wall. It's on the story that's on Jenny's wall today. It mentions that his older brother thinks that he was installed as the Pope due to influence from the United States of America, that wanted to have a pope that would aggressively go after child trafficking by the Catholic priests that were typically Jesuits. They were the ones that wore the red shoes. And, if you talk about sodomy against children and the leadership of a church, that just does not match. And so I think the Pope was very much willing to be installed as the Pope, and then he could use his papacy to eliminate or severely reduce the sodomization of children. And see, I think that's a much stronger charge than child trafficking, even though it's ultimately the same thing. Child trafficking is getting young people to locations where people can bid on them like an auction and then have their way with them, which is my polite way of saying sodomize them. I have 4 children. I'm expecting my 10th grandchild. And I can tell you that nobody's ever sodomized any of my descendants. And if they do, they might look like Swiss cheese in 20 minutes, that does sound like a threat, but it's a contingent threat against any unnamed person that would ever sodomize or even scare one of my children or grandchildren. I don't know why American parents put up with that. I won't. But so my answer to you, and it's an opinion, not a fact, I think it was a combination of the two things that you offered me as menu items to pick one, and I picked both of them. So I don't know where you got your information, but I thank you very much for that stimulating question.
Well, thank you very much for your answer. Well, so we'll watch this go forward and see how it all plays out to the world.
I think it's going to play out very well, Cal.
I sure hope so. Thank you for all your great information.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Cal. Okay, so here's another one, back to a little bit of Comey. Field, what was Comey's part in 9/11?
Well, first of all, I'd have to know what year he started and what year he was removed. But assuming that 9/11 was between his start and his end, I would say he helped cover it up in advance. And Robert Swan Mueller, who was a previous director, he certainly got the truthful information. And I know because he got it from me. He just didn't respond to it. And, they're not supposed to sit there and say, oh, whoever sent me this message must be a conspiracy theorist. That's not their job. If their job was like my jobs in the military, where I swore an oath to protect the United States of America and the citizens therein against all enemies, foreign and domestic, I was in the military 26 years, and I can't think of any real enemies we had except the fake enemies in the Vietnam War. And then, of course, the set up enemies in Desert Storm 1 and 2, because one of the senior military officials has gone on record as saying it was the intention of the Pentagon to create 7 wars in 7 years. Well, before you start a war, shouldn't you be attacked by somebody? I mean, this stuff is so much BS, and that's not Barry Swatero. So calm down, Obama. I'm not talking about you or Michael. But uh, anyway, now because I did my stream of consciousness thing, I forgot. Oh, that was Jenny that asked me the question. Did I answer the question yet, Jenny, or should I try again?
No, it was what was Comey's part in 9/11?
I think he covered
I
it
think
up.
I think you started to talk about it, but then yeah, you went in your stream of consciousness. So you just said you think he covered it up? That's his part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Easy breezy, simple enough. Okay, thank you. And I think everybody, because he's coming to the forefront, I think it's coming full circle. We're gonna probably soon find out because 9/11 is resurfacing as well. Okay, so let's see. Mark Levy, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi, Field. How you doing today?
I couldn't be better unless I was honest.
I was in a restaurant and I missed part of the show, but I heard y'all talking about Comey, and I heard you, Jenny, say that the daughter was working on the prosecution side of the Diddy case. I didn't know if y'all were aware, but yesterday was 8,647 days since 9/11. That's the 8647 that I think they were really talking about in this movie. Were y'all aware of that?
Not me.
I mean, I saw a bunch of stuff going around the internet regarding the Comey thing, and it's been blowing up as if it's a threat, like 86, Trump. We know what 86 means, right? So that's been a big thing being talked about around social medias for sure.
Well, I think the 911 is coming into play because 8,647 days ago, as of yesterday, is when 9/11 happened. So I think that's really what they were pointing to. Couldn't be a coincidence. And that's all I really wanted to say. I wanted to thank you, Field, for being a national treasure that you are and for doing this show every week. And I sure enjoyed my stay in your home.
Yes. And I enjoyed having you as my house guest. And I don't have house guests very often, and not because I'm rude, but because a lot of the people that want to stay at my house are bad people. I've had two Mossad agents stay at my house trying to get inside my head, and they were not here at the same time. They came individually, but one of them, and I'm not going to name the name. I mean, if I get into court, I have to name names, and I look forward to going to court someday. And I think, as you just said, Mark, I think 9/11 is going to be declassified by Trump here in the not too distant future. And I've already let the military white hats that are loyal to Trump know that if they want to get a witness that cannot be proven wrong, they can call my number, and they know my number. And the white hats know my track record. And it's my belief, even though I've never met the Trumps, plural, it's my belief that they appreciate my view of child trafficking. And I've got good reasons to say that, but I'm not going to say that because, I'm sort of toxic. And if I were to say something very, very positive towards Donald Trump, some people that are not too bright might think that I've communicated with him. No, not exactly. I communicate with his white hats. And this is exactly how I communicate with Vladimir Putin. I don't send a message from Field to Vladimir. No, I send a message from me with my Marine Corps serial number so they can look me up and find out if I'm real and am I credible. But on two occasions, I sent messages through the military attaché of Russia. It's on a street in Georgetown, and I know the name of that street. I'm just sort of tired, like I am every day. It might be Tunlaw, Tunlaw. We could look it up, but the military attaché for Russia, the Air Force attaché, is who I communicated with, and I said you might want to consider this information about the Sukhoi Superjet that flew into Mount Salak in Indonesia in 2012, because you might find that it was remotely guided by a Boeing uninterruptible autopilot, and that Warren Buffett in the United States had a $9 billion investment in Bombardier aircraft that they were competing with Sukhoi to try to be the leader of the regional airliner market. And so who is it that probably, this is an opinion, and the only reason I'm putting this opinion out is because I hope this gets to Warren Buffett, and he has a night where he tosses and turns but doesn't get to sleep. Warren Buffett had a $9 billion investment in competition with Sukhoi. Sukhoi was a more intelligent corporation, in my opinion, because Sukhoi took off-the-shelf remote guidance called the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot, and they installed it in the Russian commuter jet or regional jet. And why that was a stroke of genius is because that had already been authorized around the world as a remote guidance feature for safety purposes for any fly-by-wire and glass cockpit airliner being built. Built. Told you I was tired. I can't even say built. But Warren Buffett, I think, would have some tough questions to answer. You know, if 9/11 ever gets to be declassed, and I know it will be, I just hope I can contribute somehow. I don't really like the thought of innocent people on airliners, whether they're Russian, American, Canadian, British, French, German. I don't like honest people that are willing to pay for a ticket to get from A to C. I don't like when they die at B, never making it to C. And so, am I saying that Warren Buffett is behind the Sukhoi Superjet crash in Indonesia in 2012? I'm saying it sure looks like it, and that would be a very good thing to put into a trial. But the other time I sent Putin a letter, oh, and by the way, when I sent him the letter I just talked about, 2 days after I sent it, it was on front page news in Russia. And what I think that indicates is Putin and the Russian military value my opinion when it comes to these accidents, which of course are not accidents. The other incident, I can't remember the date, but it was around Christmas time, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, a Russian airliner, and it's the one that looks like the 727. It was taking Russian band members and a choral group down to the Middle East to cheer up their troops in one of the Middle Eastern countries. And it got offshore from its departure point on the south coast of Russia. And it got about 20 miles out where the water was deep enough that it could be hard to recover. And it was blown out of the sky. Now, who did that? Well, it wouldn't have been the Russians. So I have no idea who did it. But it's very similar to MH370, MH17. Sometimes airplanes take off and somebody doesn't want them to get to the destination. In the case of MH370, which was dispatched from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, it got as far north as Bitod, B-I-T-O-D intersection, and it did a 180-degree turn to the left. And the air traffic controllers tried to contact them. And see, when the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot is triggered, it shuts down every communication feature on the aircraft. And so who did that? I've said many times, I think it was Serco, Serco. And why do I say that? Because Prince William of the he's one of the fake royals. He'd been a helicopter pilot with a specialty of air sea rescue. And he was down in the Maldives on the day that I allege that Serco wanted the aircraft to fly into the South Indian Ocean somewhere near the Maldives. But it didn't do that because when the aircraft was taken off course, the air traffic controllers noticed it, but so did a U.S. Air Force AWACS aircraft. And it's my opinion, and somebody can prove me wrong in court, but first they have to get the court called. There was an Air Force AWACS aircraft that I allege, for humanitarian reasons, took control of MH370 away from Serco, if that's who took it first. And then they shut the back door to the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot. After they went through the back door to take control of it, they shut the back door so nobody else could take control of the aircraft. And it landed safely at Diego Garcia at 6:11. It was parked at 6:11 a.m. local time in Diego Garcia on the 9th of March of 2014. I talked so long, I forgot the question, but did I answer your question perhaps?
Yeah, I think you did. But real quickly, everybody, I've got Santino in here, and I'm gonna pull him up or unmute. Well, your mic's unmuted, Santino, but gonna talk a little bit real quickly on this Comey situation and how, the different perspectives are going around. So, like Mark Levy was just saying, he thinks it's, I do believe it could be both, right? Bringing attention to 9/11 because of the days, the 86-47. But also, too, we've got Tulsi Gabbard out there. She's, calling for the arrest of Comey. So I think there's more to it. But Santino and I, we sit in a lot of these spaces together. So, Santino, I'd like you to kind of talk a little bit about what we're hearing in these different spaces regarding Comey and the threat that people are taking, talking about and all that kind of stuff. Just a different perspective because people are, thinking different things. They may be thinking both, but I would like to have you give your opinion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me up here, Jenny, and everybody. And hello, Field. I hope you're doing well this day. I have my own perspective, and everybody's tapping to love the different areas of level, different areas, all under an umbrella. I've noticed this morning when I go back to a tweet that I just did this morning. I'm connecting a lot of dots. That's what I do. The first thing that came to my mind was Comey on Epstein Island, was Comey at those Diddy parties, was Comey everywhere, was Comey FBI involved in 9/11. These are the things I go through my head, and I'm thinking, yes, because when you look at James Comey's daughter, Maureen Comey, still works at the DOJ. Why is she still working at the DOJ? Is Maureen Comey involved in the Epstein files disappearing? That's what they're saying right now, that they're linking it to her, that a portion of these Epstein files are missing. Worth remembering, think what you know. Connect the dots. Was James Comey involved personally in the Epstein Diddy files, 9/11, all of the above? Ryan Comey has joined the prosecutor's team on the ongoing Diddy case. Why would she go there for? Why is she everywhere at the scene? Why is she placed afterwards? That's when you start to connect the dots. James Comey's daughter, Maureen Comey, inspected the missing Jeffrey Epstein suicide footage. Why would they put her there? To inspect the footages of the suicide case, right? The footage, the visuals. James Comey's daughter investigated the Epstein suicide, and her husband did the Ghislaine Maxwell case. You see how they're all connected? I'm almost finished here, but I just want to take my time because
You're
there's a
good.
lot. Yeah, because I hate being rushed, but there's so much involved here when you really think about it, Jenny. U.S. Attorney SDNY steps down as Lucas Issacharoff steps in. This is Comey's son-in-law, married to Maureen. Follow the wives, SNDNY registered daughter Maureen Comey, Sussman, Godfrey, Lucas, Eisencroft. D-State, James Comey's daughter, Maureen Comey, husband is taking over the Aubrey Straub's, the U.S. attorney for the SDNY to be indicated for Jessie Maxwell. So we're seeing things happen. Someone is placed to take someone down, and they put someone to take over to clean it up, to make sure it's no evidence here. Let them walk. Give them a small sentence. I believe that there's a lot here. I think timing is everything. There's a reason. People say, why would he do this? Why would Comey do this and just bring this out? Because I believe he has to do it. I think it's part of the show, part of the exposure. That's what I believe. I mean, anybody's stupid. Like if you're an FBI. You're like Kash Patel. You're the FBI director. Why would you go out and say that on the same day, 8,645 days to the day he tweets that out? I think that he was forced to do that. I think he was forced to do it. He's setting a signal. He's setting a sign. He was taken out of the organization. So I think that he was meant to do that. It's to say that he was involved. Maybe if you ask me some question, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so no, it just goes to show you kind of how Santino's talking about what different people are saying. There's just different connections, and it connects a lot of dots, right? You can see how enthralled so many things and people are. And if you look on the wall, I'm posting a lot of stuff here, everybody. If you look on the wall, SG and On has put some stuff on there, and it says from and including Tuesday, September 11, 2001 to but not including Thursday, May 15th, 2025. Results 8,647 days. So underneath there, Kash Patel's little thing is out there. We are aware of the recent social media post by James Comey. So there's more to it than just these numbers, everybody, with that, referring to 9/11. It's a bigger picture. There's another post, a lengthy one from SG and On. I highly recommend you guys read it because, again, there is more to this than just the 8,647 days. There's just the entanglement of the P. Diddy and the Epstein, and just it just goes on and on and on. So again, who's our first arrest going to be? Who knows? Could it be Comey? Who knows? But pay attention, everybody. But again, don't feed into the noise. Try to get different perspectives of it, so it can help you maybe put the puzzles together, because this is very, very entangled. So
one last thing, Jenny, when you talk about 86,
some of the stuff that I'm posting on the wall, you can look at it and check it out. But real quickly, Santino, go ahead, and then I'm going to go to these other hands. Go ahead, Santino.
When you look at 86, there's many meanings to 86, but the big one is 80 miles out, 6 feet under. They dig. That's an old thing. 86 that, 86 this, right? But I think that as a community, as a whole movement, I think we're learning more and more that we're not just looking over here and looking over there. We're combining each scene and knowing that they're all affiliated, they're all connected in some way, even their partners or their cousins or their family members. I mean, they rub each other's elbows, and they all protect each other. They're all lined. It's all about kickbacks and protecting each other, and they'll go to each scene to make sure that they're safe.
Yep. Amen. All right, Phil, do you want to respond to any of that?
I want to ask
That was
Santino
a
a question.
Go ahead.
Yes. Did you mention in the last 15 minutes, Santino,
Was it
that
15?
somebody, what's that?
I said, was it 15?
No, you're good.
Well, no, I maybe I'm being facetious, but I'm like a pit bull, and sometimes I smell things that, poodles can't smell. Was it you, sir, that said that one of the Comey relatives got rid of the film of Epstein's suicide? Could you tell me yes or no?
No, that's not what I said. I said that Comey's daughter, was brought in to investigate the visuals of his suicide. So I find that ironic. Yeah, it was. It's interesting to think that why would they bring her in? I really, I think we look at everywhere, but we have to look at Comey as an individual, as a personal person, not just as an FBI director, more like his personal life. Was he on the Epstein files? sorry, the files on the island. Was he part of the Diddy parties? Was he at the freak parties? I believe yes now. I believe that he partaked in all of the paraphernalia that's out there. And that's why his daughter and her husband or ex-husband are always there to clean up the mess.
Well, can I help the mess get messier?
Absolutely, because I love a dive.
Okay. Um, I think the most logical reason for anybody to get rid of the film of Epstein suiciding himself is because he never did it, because he died all right. But I mean, he might have died, maybe not. But somebody was in that cell dead. But the United States Marines or the United States Army took Epstein out of the cell and into custody, into military custody. And so, if that was proven to be the case, the people that you mentioned, the Comey family, what they're doing is they're trying to make a onerous crime go away.
That's
This,
bingo, Phil. That you're so on point with that because I discussed this. I had the visuals of Epstein, that the autopsy, and I saw his body. There was bed sores, there was a bit of bruising. But what I found interesting that coincides with what you're saying is when you look at the face, they're showing the neck, right, where he hung himself. They had to go in and take the bone out to see where it broke. What I found interesting was the cut marks. They went from top ear to top ear. And the earlobes were bent back, which means the face was lifted. So what I'm getting to is what you're saying. Was that a different body and they put the skin on top of the body to make him look like it was Epstein and Epstein is maybe alive or maybe he's dead? Who knows? But that's exactly the point. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. My opinion is worth about 5 cents, and coffee is about $5 a cup. But anyway, I'm quite certain that perhaps 4 military people in green uniforms, which would typically be Marines or Army, got Epstein out of that cell, not to prove him innocent, but to make sure he didn't die. And they found some other body that was roughly the same size as him, and they didn't show the face. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they said that that's the body of Epstein. I don't think so. They did that with John F. Kennedy on November of '63. The body that was boarded in a casket onto Air Force One was a dead police officer from Dallas. So JFK was not boarded onto Air Force One. And that's a long established fact. But I just wanted to run that by you, sir, to stimulate you.
Thank you so much. And I'm just this is the last thing I'm going to say. This is what I believe. I believe there's a strong, strong possibility Epstein is alive. I believe that they
Yeah.
actually had a body there. They cut the face purposely. I look at the stitchers, right? I didn't look at the neck. Usually when you do that, all you have to do is just cut through the neck to get the bone and find out where it's broken. I'm still questioning and I have massive question mark. Why are the cuts from the top of the ear going all the way down across the jawline and going up? And I have the pictures. And these pictures are from Time Life. These are not like, the dark web, someone kind of tampered with them. I mean, they're showing all the visuals. So, I mean, that's what I'm thinking now. Now I'm leaning towards there. So thank you so much for letting me speak, Jenny. And Field, you're a phenomenal man, and I love listening to you.
Thank you,
Thank
Santino,
you very much.
thank you, Santino, always for your insight and for being here always. And I agree with you about Epstein potentially being alive for sure. Okay, Phil, did you want to respond to that? And then we'll go to these couple hands.
Yeah, I'll do it real briefly, believe it or not. I just wanted to say thank you, Santino, for your kind words. And one more thing, I'm going to throw in a God bless you for your benefit. Thank you.
You're too kind. Thank you. No, God bless you, Field. If all of us didn't have you and giving us all this incitement, I mean, honestly, yeah, thank you for being here and doing this for everybody. I really appreciate you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Santino.
very much. Bye-bye.
All right, Denise, N, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Field your question.
Hi, Field. So I've seen pictures of the Mossad putting explosive in the towers. So I was wondering what was Israel's part in 9/11?
I can't answer that, but there was some current news in the last week about Israel having a flying object near one of the Twin Towers recently. And I don't know about that, but Mossad may have contracted to put the explosives in the tower, but there's a band of Indians in upstate New York that were actually doing a lot of the legwork to put the nanothermite where it had to be, and because what the nanothermite did was it cut all the vertical steel beams at exactly the same time, at exactly the same angle, 45 degrees, which allowed the whole building to shift as it fell. And then once it came off the beams, then it just basically was destroyed in its own footprint. And one thing that is lost by most Americans is not the Roosevelts, close. The Rockefellers wanted to bring down those towers, and they asked the New Jersey board of whoever approves demolition of buildings, and they were denied permission because one of the Twin Towers was 1,362 feet tall. The other one was 1,368 feet tall, and they both exceeded the limit for vertical height to bring towers down. And why is that? Because if they didn't come down right into their own footprint, there would be collateral damage when they tilted and fell into another building. And so, and if anybody wants to do some research and find it, you can find you can find what I just said. That's certainly available on the internet. But after the Rockefellers asked permission to do a controlled demolition and they were denied, they demolished it anyway by faking airliners flying into it as if they could cause the towers to come down. No, they couldn't. The fuel in the airliners was basically kerosene, and it's not hot enough to burn through 2,000-degree steel. And here's another thing that proves that on occasion I'm lucid. The contract for all that steel, the vertical beams, was contracted to be able to withstand 2,000 degrees, but the contractors gave them, and I don't think they charged them any extra. I don't think that the steel contractors wanted their building to come down and make it look like they're not very good steel providers. They provided steel that could withstand 2,800 degrees. And when you see all the black smoke in the videos of the Twin Towers, black smoke indicates inefficient combustion. So there's no way in the world the aircraft could have caused a fire hot enough to bring down the building. I think if some people are good researchers, I'm not. I used to have a partner, and I don't mean like a sexual partner. I mean like an academic partner. But he was a very good researcher, and he's dead. Now, I think he died of natural causes, but John B. Wells, when John B. Wells told me in a message that David Hawkins had died in Vancouver, British Columbia, he added a phrase, under suspicious circumstances. So, I don't know what all that means. I just know that we're all being lied to. And I think the chickens are coming home to roost with the fake Epstein cadaver and the complicity of numerous members of Comey's family. And once again, I think Comey was guillotined, and I could be wrong. But if anybody has his head in a freezer, please email it to me, not the head, the information, and then you can FedEx the head to me, and I'll pay for it. Yeah, I'll put it on a 2x4 and walk around on Halloween evening. That's what used to happen. That's where guillotines came from, to take the worst criminals and make sure they never did it again. And let's not, we as a nation, and not just the Americans, the indigenous Americans, I don't mean the Indians, I mean those who were born here. If we continue to take their lies and believe them, then the bad people, who I think many have been executed already, the bad people are going to keep on trying to kill us all. And they're not going to get all of us. I know one in Plum City, Wisconsin, that is going to be able to survive anything they throw at me for a very simple reason. And it's spelled capital G-O-D. I've been working since 1994 for God. And late in my career with God, he asked me twice to expose evil, Ephesians 5:11 and Psalm 94:16. That's what I do, and I will not be stopped. Over to you, Jenny. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Field. Great information, guys. Great information. Okay. Denise, did that answer your question?
Well, it did. So you do think Israel is involved or not?
I don't know. Netanyahu is such a criminal. They could be, but for him to mislead the entire, pardon me, for him to mislead and threaten the entire government of Israel, the Israeli government, is not only now linked to these onerous crimes like 9/11, they're also linked to a lot of other things. And why they want to do that is they're stupid. Because in this environment, Donald Trump and the military white hats are winning all the battles. And looking forward and looking back at the track record, why should they suffer any losses now? Because we're going to have I think the linchpin on this is going to be the D-class of 9/11. That will pretty much set the stage for the future and let people know. And I don't even know if there's a deep state anymore. I think the deep state's cheerleader, Mitch McConnell, has probably been removed. When he got into a white van outside the Senate building, he had a cast or something on his left leg that probably covered up a GPS monitor. And I'm particularly hard on Mitch McConnell because the name McConnell comes from Scotland, and it's a very proud name, and it's a very small family. And over in Northern Ireland, there's McConnell Irish whiskey. And McConnell's always been a good name. And I can point to, in the United States Air Force, McConnell Air Force Base in Wichita. At one point, there was a General John P. McConnell that was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs as an Air Force officer. The leading jet ace from the United States was Joseph McConnell. He is in the Korean War. And my father was a McConnell, and he's unknown typically to most people, never knew his name. But I know his name, and he and I have something very odd in common. He was incarcerated as a POW of the Japanese in World War II on the 18th of April until he was released. It was 16 months, and he lost 51 pounds. I was incarcerated unlawfully by Ron DeSantis of Florida, Tony Evers of Wisconsin, and Judge Dan Casey of the 17th District in Florida. I was incarcerated 16 months, same as my dad, and I lost 91 pounds. And also, before they would let me go home, even though I was never judged, I was never adjudicated or proven or found guilty of anything. And yet, when I asked them to let me go home because my wife was terminal, and I had a notarized letter from a doctor who shared that with the judge, they wouldn't let me go home. And my wife died. And I think that's cruel and unusual punishment. And I think it's a crime. And it's going to sound funny to you, Jenny, but I'm dead serious. It's elder abuse. I was 70 and they violated my process. They violated my constitutional rights. Now, I know that they were not a constitutional court back then. They were a British Admiralty court or maritime court. But, there's certain crimes that there's no statute of limitations on. And someday, maybe in the next 120 days, maybe some constitutional loyal attorney will get a hold of me and we can discuss how to proceed. Because you can attack the United States of America and you're going to get your ass handed to you. If you
Amen.
attack my wife, thank you.
It's
I
okay, Phil.
promise to be quick.
You're good.
Go
Big
ahead.
hugs, I'm just telling you, big hugs, my friend. You're doing great. You're doing great. Okay, everybody, I've got 3 more people I'm going to call on. I got a hard stop at 11:30 my time and probably 1:30 Field's time. So let's see. BL Patriot, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, BL Patriot, or I have to move on. Going once, going twice. All right, Sherry Justice, my friend, go ahead.
Hey, Field, it's Sherry. Hey, I've wanted to know this for a long time. I've never asked you, and then I've got other people that have asked me for a long time, and they've never asked you. And so I know it's on the minds of people, so I'm wanting to try to clear it on this program here today. And anything I say, you correct me on it because I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. So you've said it on at least probably 90% of your podcasts, and I'm forgive me if I say it wrong, but that your sister, she asked you how to maybe control a plane without somebody in there or a drone or some of that kind of stuff. I'm not sure exactly what she phoned you and asked you. And you told her, how to do it since you're a pilot and all that. And then later, when the Twin Towers went down, did you know then immediately that she had called you for that formula and that formula is what took that down, or is that not so? Or did she give the formula to Hillary Clinton, or how did that exactly go? That's one part of it. And there's a
Okay.
second part.
Well, let's do the first part
Okay.
first so I don't get confused. Yeah. In December of 1988, my sister Christine Marcy, that's Kristine, she called me in December of 1988 and said she had a problem. And I said, yeah, and you work for the U.S. Marshal Service, so you also have a big budget. And she says, yeah, but this is something that we have to sort of do quickly. And I said, okay, I'm very good at quick. And I didn't hang up. That was what I was thinking of doing. That would have been pretty quick. But I said, okay, tell me what your problem is. And she said that the airlines were not going to be allowed to fly federal prisoners in shackles and handcuffs on commercial flights anymore. And the reason for that was they could either delay themselves and die, or they could cause a pileup in the aisle when everybody was heading for the exits. And I said, well, I got your solution already, Chris, if you'll just stop talking. And she said, okay, what's the solution? I gave her a name, came right out of my FOM, that's Flight Operations Manual from Northwest Airlines. I gave her the name of the gentleman whose job it was to place retired airliners into hands like aviation schools so they could perform maintenance on real airliners. I said, if you call this man, and I'll just call him Mr. X, that's not his initial, here's his phone number, here's his fax number, here's his email, and you can get 1 or 2 old retired airliners for free. And then all you have to do is back when I had the conversation in December of 88, a Boeing uninterruptible autopilot cost about $300,000. They're up to $800,000 as of 1995. And I said, you get these Boeing uninterruptible autopilots, you put them in a DC-9-30-15, which has big engines, and it has, I shouldn't say big, but they're more powerful than the other DC-9s, and it has long-range tanks. I said a DC-9-15, no, DC-9-30-15 can go from Hawaii to the mainland. And the reason why you want to put the remote control Boeing uninterruptible autopilot in, that way you don't have to be afraid of your shackled and handcuffed fugitives or federal prisoners, whichever they are at that point. You don't have to worry about them charging the cockpit and taking over, because part of the uninterruptible autopilot would be a co-installation of the cockpit door locks, which came after 9/11. But if she would have listened to me, she could have had a couple of airliners for free. The other model being made obsolete was a Boeing 727-100, which was the short and the original 727. And it could also go nonstop from Hawaii to the mainland if it had a Boeing uninterruptible autopilot to make sure nobody could take control of the aircraft, not even the pilots. And that's why it's a crime today. Even today, in 2025, the airlines are not teaching their pilots about the Boeing uninterruptible autopilot. This is why I retired abruptly in one phone call, because I was being so vocal about the BUAP. The United States Department of Justice threatened Northwest with what they would do if Northwest didn't get rid of me. So I TF'd them. Now, I'm not going to explain what TF means, but some people know. What I did was I picked up my phone the first time I found out about the call from DOJ. I called the management of Northwest Airlines and I said, I want to be retired by the end of the day today. And they said, well, it normally takes 6 weeks. I said, not for me and not today. I'll be retired by the end of the day today, or Northwest Airlines and you, sir, and I'm not mentioning which sir I was talking to, you're not going to like what I do tomorrow. And that, maybe it sounded like a threat. It wasn't. It was a statement of fact. If they didn't get me retired for their benefit, not mine, I didn't need to fly anymore. I didn't need to dress up like a pilot. I didn't give a rat's ass. But I wanted to clear the name of Northwest Airlines, because Northwest Airlines was not in control of my mouth and not in control of my knowledge. And so I refused to play patty cake. So then what happened, Sherry, is on the morning of 9/11, I witnessed what everybody else witnessed. Now, I don't know if it was some file footage that was correct or if it was all CGI, and it doesn't matter to me, because whether it was drones that were airline type aircraft, but with no crew in the cockpit and no passengers in the cabin, the flight characteristics of all four of the aircraft, and that would be United 93, United 175, American 11, and American 77. Those things were all being flown by technology. And how I knew that is because, being a long-term pilot, I knew that there's always wind at different altitudes, and humans cannot see the wind unless there's some, dust or smoke in it, or rain. But those aircraft were not making any heading corrections. And a human operated aircraft would be making series of sequential check turns into the wind. And right there, I knew There's without a doubt, and I cannot be proven wrong. I mean, that's a threat to anybody who might try. You cannot prove me wrong. But that's courtesy threat, by the way, I'm not being mean. So that's how I knew that my sister and Hillary Clinton took my information, gave it to George H.W. Bush, who shared it with that very short hothead named John McCain. And those were the four biggest names in my mind in who was behind the attack of 9/11. So,
Thank you.
Sherry, did I answer? Was that a good enough answer, Sherry?
Yes, okay. But
Real quick, hold on, Sherry, real quickly. I got a hard stop this at 11:30 my time. So I'm sorry, but I have got to be somewhere. So is your next question going to take long? Do you know?
no, this is the end of it. So I got it. I
Okay,
have what
I
you
got
say.
I got 3 minutes.
Okay, so that's what made you the first whistleblower on 9/11 is because when it happened, you knew instantly that she had taken what you had said on the phone and used it for bad and not for good, but in no way you are tied to the information because you told her the information for good and then she used it for bad, but you knew immediately when it happened that's how they did it. Is all that correct, Phil?
Yeah, all that's correct. So why don't you and I, Sherry, both say goodbye to um, Jenny as soon as she wants us to say goodbye. Jenny,
Yes.
over to you.
Well, no, you go ahead, and if you want to add to that, that's fine. I've got to bounce here as soon as you answer this question, or if you want to add to Sherry's comment, because this is very important for people to understand. But yeah, go ahead, and I've got to bounce here real soon. So go ahead and Field, respond to that, and then we'll close it out until next week.
Okay. Yeah, what Sherry built, her narrative is entirely correct. I knew on the morning of 9/11 how it was done. I knew who was behind it, my sister and Hillary and George H.W. Bush and John McCain, and I published this. So why in the blank has this not gone to adjudication? But it will. Donald Trump knows my name, and the White Hats know my track record, and so I'm very confident that they'll get this done without me. But if they want a little help, and then they can handle run-on sentences, I'd volunteer to help them at no cost. Over to you, Jenny.
Sherry, thank you so much for your great question. And I know, I mean, you expounded on that, so I think that helps out a lot of people that may have that thought process. As if maybe Field might have been a part of it, but no, he wasn't everybody. He's the original whistleblower. So thank you for that question, and everybody here, thank you for your questions. We will be back next week. I think we're going to bring Field on Wednesday. How do you feel about that, Field? Because you're here now Friday, and Monday's just a couple days away. So you want to come back on Wednesday?
Yeah, that's perfect. And you never even have to ask me if there's anything I can do to make your life simpler. Just pencil me in or pencil me out.
No, you're
Yeah.
always to be penciled in. We're doing a lot of some switcheroos here. So Field will be back with us next Wednesday, everybody. Same time, same place. Monday we're gonna have John Baxter, Derek Johnson. Tuesday, come on over to my X Space. We're gonna have Shadow of Ezra over there, and then Wednesday we're gonna have Field. Alpha Warrior. I'm confirming that with Alpha because we're moving his from today to Wednesday, and then Silk. Everybody, she's back. She's been on a little bit of a hiatus, but she is back. So that will be on my X Space as well. So with that, everybody, have a fabulous weekend. Stay out of the noise. Stay excited. Stay positive because we are winning, winning, winning. And Trump, I believe, is on his way back to the United States because he recently has become a grandfather again. I'm not sure which number this is, but his daughter Tiffany just gave birth. So congratulations to our President Donald J. Trump on the new grandbaby. So with that, everybody, God bless you, Field. We love you. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Santino, for being here as always. And have a great weekend. God bless. Love you all.
God bless. Love you all. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.